Hello, Eagle fans. I'm Chris Hooks, play-by-play voice of the NCCU Sports Network, and we have the distinct pleasure of having a Hall of Famer here on this campus here, as Doug Wilkerson, former player here at North Carolina Central, was recently enshrined into the Black College Football Hall of Fame, and he joins us here on NCCU's campus. And Doug, first of all, for me, just hearing the history here at North Carolina Central, and getting a chance to, I met you before, but getting a chance to actually sit down and talk to you in a formal setting, I'm grateful for it, and we're glad to have you here today.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's nice to be here with Coach, and we sort of all starting anew. We want him. He's the man for the job.
Yep.
And I think he can bring an awful lot to this university.
Yeah, and as we introduce new head coach here at North Carolina Central, Jerry Mack, here into the fold, he's going to, again, he has some questions too for Doug Wilkerson again as we continue on here on this in-depth interview with Doug Wilkerson, former Eagle here at North Carolina Central. Doug, if you could, just talk about your playing career here and just what you remember here at North Carolina Central.
Actually, it's quite vivid. I mean, playing against some of the guys that from historical black universities and colleges that you see. Willie Lanier I played against, that's one of the ones. And then I ended up with Ray Chester, who was also at Morgan, Art Shell, Donnie Shell. I mean, the list can go on and on and on. But the idea, the thing that we learned here is the fact it's family. And the second thing is athletics and academics go hand in hand. You have to be able to manage both. And I think that helped us an awful lot because, the professors were very difficult. They didn't take a lot of pity on you, and they expected you. I think when I was in school, we only could miss 3 cuts, and that was very difficult for a lot of people to understand. If you miss more than 3 cuts, other than a football trip, they're going to deduct grade points.
Yep.
So it became a very unique situation of, again, athletics and academics.
Well, let me congratulate you first and foremost on being enshrined in the Black College Football Hall of Fame. I know that had to be a cool honor for you, and what was that like for you? And I know Coach Mack has a question for you as well.
It was very special. It was very special seeing some of the guys that you played against, that from the CIAA, that you had an opportunity to represent that conference during that time, and then to be around them and just spend time with them and reminisce about the old times that we did spend. And it seemed like yesterday. But also the other combination from the other historical black universities and colleges. We also played against, or I was in some of the all-star games with some of the other guys.
Yeah.
And it was going back and reminiscing about old times. I saw Kenny Burroughs and guys like that were great players. And when you get a chance to get together with them, it's a very special time.
Coach Mack?
One of the things that I noticed, at the Black College Hall of Fame was that, a lot of those Black College inductees were from smaller schools, obviously. Mr. Wilkerson, what kind of advice would you give our student athletes coming from NCCU, some of the things that they may need to focus more on coming from a university, a little smaller stature than some of the larger schools?
Well, I think right now, if you're a football player, they're going to find you. But one of the things some of the things that you have to definitely look at is always be prepared. You study, you execute. And when you start doing those kinds of things, it's amazing how you grab coaches' attention. They like to yell at people to make mistakes. When you don't make mistakes and they can't yell at you, all they can do is encourage you. They try to encourage you by yelling at you, but it's the same thing as they begin to take note of who make mistakes and who don't make mistakes. And coach can also answer that question by, he look at players that once he give them direction and they can follow direction and they can carry out those particular kind of assignments and things that you need, then everybody gets happy, Then you don't have to stop a play and restart it. That's one of the most aggravating things in the world. That gives coaches gray hairs very quickly.
Now, Doug, let's talk about your NFL career. Picked 14th in the first round by the Houston Oilers.
Correct.
Later, after a year, went to San Diego in a trade. They switched you over to the offensive line, and looking at your career and who you played for, you were around coaches like Sid Gilman and Don Coryell who revolutionized the passing game.
Oh.
That had to be pretty neat.
Oh, it was. It was fun. Sid was a very particular kind of guy. He loved jazz music. He provided the music in the cafeteria, in the locker rooms, and things of that particular nature. But also, he had a fantastic staff. He had Al Davis was one of his coaches. Chuck Noble was one of his coaches. So basically, I mean, you know, he had a fantastic coaching staff. And these guys all went on to become. Al was a vertical passing game guy. You know, Chuck Noll, who went to the other side of the ball, who was there in San Diego at the same time, was a defensive coach. So they got the best of both worlds. You got two guys that went on to win Super Bowl championships, you know, as administrators and one as a coach. Yeah. And Sid was, you know, innovated a lot of that.
It's funny when you watch the football game now. I know Coach Mack can certainly talk about this, but I talked to him before we did this interview. Watching that offense now, it's almost like you're seeing it now. The only difference is the quarterbacks don't drop straight back; they're just to the side. I mean, it's crazy how ahead of a time it was.
Well, a lot of it was simply because with the American Football League, which evolved into the American Football Conference, they were very athletic. You know, when you start looking at the athletic wide receivers, the athletic running backs, and those kinds of people, you know, they were years ahead of their time. But the NFL at the same time was a more strong arm, bully you, we're going to beat you up, we're going to run the football on you, and we're going to make you pay. So with the AFC, to create that excitement, they had to throw the football, you know, and they got people interested. And then when that began to start taking off, you start see the changes in the Super Bowl victories. You know, they applied some of the theories of playing great defense, but also with offense to score a lot of points.
Right. I think too, you know, when you look at how the game has evolved so much over the years, a lot of those same core concepts that Bill Walsh and Don Coryell used back then are still being implemented today, not only from the NFL range, but also in college football. You know, you take a look at how the game has evolved through the 80s. I know you were drafted by the Houston Oilers, and
right.
You know, the Warren Moon days, and then you kind of go through the run and shoot, and now with everybody being a tempo spread style offense, you can still see at the base of it, you know, it still goes back to the Bill Walsh days, it still goes back to the Don Coryell days. You know, one thing I would like to ask you, Mr. Wilkerson, is how was your time in the NFL? How did you use that to be successful in life?
Well, I think a lot of it teaches you discipline. And the discipline means that you have to study your plays. You have to come to work every day. You have to want to be at work. You have to enjoy doing your job. And if you can't have those qualities and teamwork and working with other people, you have to be that kind of very particular individual. You have to be able to make sure that you have everything prioritized. You know, the only thing that comes between you and your football job is family. You know, if there are things that happen in the family that's an emergency or something that you need to go take care of, but everything else is prioritized to what you do on the field. What's your preparation to get to the field? What your preparation is for off season. All those kind of things prepare you for being the best player that you possibly can be.
I totally agree.
Now, what are you doing nowadays? I know that you do a lot of things with the Chargers. I know they have you at their training camps all the time, and they get your insight. What else? What do you have going on nowadays?
I pretty much retired. I was chasing my volleyball playing daughter around for the last 3 or 4 years. So, but other than that, I still like to watch football. I watch as much as I can and try to still absorb much of the knowledge as I still can. Yeah. You know, because it keeps you involved, and you never know. One day you may see something that you had somebody like Jerry. I may come down and be able to impart some knowledge to him. You know, because I know he has a wealth of it, and he's watched and participated with a lot of people and been in pro camp, so he understands the fact of what it takes to be a professional athlete.
When you look back at your time here at North Carolina Central, is there a person that you can think of that just the first person that comes to mind when you think about North Carolina Central?
Well, two people. The original guy that recruited me was Jimmy Stevens. You know, he brought me here, and he used to actually scout for the Chargers. And given those parameters, and then after that, George Quiet took over, and you know, we became a little different football team, but Jimmy did some things that were associated with pro football. He was associated because of his association with the Chargers, and plus he did some scouting for them also. So, you know, that was one of those kind of things that we had. I think Bobby Asman, a kid from Columbia, South Carolina, Bobby Asman, played here, and he signed with San Diego as a free agent. And ironically, he and Larry Little both were trying out for the same position, you know, and Larry Little, who became a Hall of Fame football player, and both of them were vying for a guard job. So taking these things into consideration and watch the growth and watch the maturity of how the league has changed over the years, you know, we got a lot of those kinds of things which helped us an awful lot.
When you look back at you know, during your career and as far as football is concerned, you know, was there one person that one person that had the most influence, not only in football but maybe just in life in general?
Well, we had what I consider probably one of the toughest guys around in Stonewall Jackson, who played in the league. I think he was drafted by the Giants. He originally played at North Carolina A&T. I mean, you know, we were a very tough physical football team, but it started on the first day of practice. We ran the hill. After we ran the hill, we did up downs. After we did up downs, we you know, we hit the sled. We did all those. We did all the rolls and things that you needed to do in order to facilitate the fact you don't get tired when you play. Mm-hmm. If you do get tired, you can always raise your hand and come out. Yeah. But a lot of us play both ways. So therefore, given those conditioning exercises, and then with George Quiet, 2 days a week during the season, we ran 40-40s after practice. 40-40. and they were all, you know, all the time. You had a little clock thing that would automatically go off, you know, if you didn't make your time. So if you came across the line after that, you had to run an extra one to make that one up.
Coach Mack, you got a spot for him. He looks like he could play linebacker for you right now.
There's no doubt about it. Every little thing helps.
Coach Mack was saying that you played, when you were playing professional, you played at 260?
Yeah.
And you weigh what, 205 now?
Yeah, about 205.
What's the secret?
I just work out every day. Try to still maintain that discipline. Get up in the morning. I run normally about 4 o'clock in the morning. Then after I come back after that, I go in and lift.
How much you run?
It all depends. You know, some days I run as much as 8, some days, you know, then 6, and then I do intervals, and one day a week or 2 days a week I'll do a speed walk just to break it up.
Kind of reflect a little bit, you know, to come here to North Carolina Central, to play for the San Diego Chargers, to get that recognition, to be in the Black College Football Hall of Fame. I mean, obviously you've worked and you've earned it. But have you had a moment, and have you had a time where you've actually just been able to sit there and just reflect and realize, you know, what the kind of impact you've had on lives in the game of football, and, you know, what you left here as far as your legacy here at North Carolina Central?
Well, I think the thing that you think about is the fact that you like to have a very nice program. We like to have a program here that's representative of the university, is representative of the people that had attended the university, and we like to take the pride in the fact that we were both academians and athletes. And, you know, and if you can get those combination of things, then I think you just are very happy that, you know what, I'm glad I attended this university, you know, and everything we can do to help Coach Mack here, you know, we want a pleasure to do, you know, because you see it in him, you see it in his face, the fact that, you know what, success.
Yep. Oh, you can certainly see that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And like I told him the other day, I said, hey, he's the perfect man for the job at the perfect time.
I couldn't agree with you more. I certainly couldn't agree with you more. Coach, you got a question for him?
Well, one thing, Doug, I definitely want to say thank you for those kind words. And, you know, you are a testament to a true student athlete, and we are proud as a NCCU family, and especially as an NCCU football program, to have you come back and spend time with us. our young men could learn a lot from you, and hopefully this won't be the last time you're on campus, and come to some games. And we definitely want to embrace you back into the fold and get you around our guys and doing all those good things.
Well, thank you very much. You know, given the opportunity, like I said, you're the perfect guy for the job, right? You know, and it's gonna happen. And you know, right now we're gonna rise back to the top.
Yep.
You know, you see his compassion for the game, and giving those kinds of things, and being out there, and just watch him embrace the players. You know, I watched the All-American Adrian. I'm sorry, the other day, and the three of us, we were standing around talking. I mean, and you just watch Adrian with this enthusiasm right now. I mean, you know, being an All-American, receiving his award, but yet and still, when we were talking football, it was amazing just to watch him sit there and grasp all the things that we were talking about.
Well, Doug, for me, I'm so glad I finally got a chance to sit down and talk to you. You know, we met before, but it was kind of quick, but this was a great opportunity to kind of get to know you a little bit more, and I know our fans certainly will appreciate that as well. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach Mack, for joining us as well. You provide some great insight as well. Doug, don't be a stranger. You're always welcome to come back and
well, thank you.
You know, join us up in the booth on the NCCU Sports Network. You know, Joe and I would love to have you and just hear what you have to say.
Well, thank you very much. I would love to come back, and I will be back. You know, and that's a promise.
North Carolina Central University is one of our nation's most prized assets.
Our law school ranks 4th in the nation for clinical opportunities.
We offer cutting-edge technology in the biosciences.
We help students master their craft.
At North Carolina Central University, we are a first-choice premier institution.